All right, guys, I just wanted to hop on here and talk about the rumor that we got last night. It says the buzz around baseball is Francisco Alvarez is all but a lock to get traded. Now, if you guys don't know, Francisco Alvarez is the number one catching prospect in baseball, top 3 prospect in all of baseball, virtually ready for the MLB tomorrow or very close to it. He just destroyed Double-A. I think he recently got called up to Triple-A, and there's been talk, around the Mets, would they call him up in August or September? So this is a ready-made player. This is a huge situation if the Mets are seriously considering trading him. And many Mets fans are talking about, is it for Juan Soto? Now, guys, I'm going to give my take on this whole situation. I would be shocked if the Nationals traded Juan Soto in division, because you have to understand something. With the way the Mets are run at this point, if they're giving up a generational catching prospect for Juan Soto and you're the Nationals, you fully understand the Mets and the amount of money that they spend, that you're going to be facing Juan Soto in division for the next 10 years, because the Mets will 1,000% extend Juan Soto to a massive 8 to 10 year extension, whatever it ends up being. So if the only way I see Juan Soto having any chance to go to the Mets is a massive overpay. Because you have to understand, I've said this and we talked about it, the 2 teams with the most to offer in terms of combination of young controllable talent and high prospect pool would be the Cardinals and the Dodgers. The Mets have, Alvarez is an amazing prospect. You can take a look at this potential trade. It's definitely skewed in terms of the overall value in the Nationals' favor, which if you're trying to get Juan Soto in division, you're going to have to give up so much more to get him. And this is the Nationals getting a value of 160 versus the Mets getting a value of 121. If you're a Mets fan and you're wondering, why would we have to get ripped off? It's because it's in division. And the Nationals know if they're trading Juan Soto and getting all the prospects back from the Mets are 100% going to be extending Juan Soto. They're not going to trade their entire farm system for 2.5 years of Juan Soto. They're going to do it for 8 or 9 years of Juan Soto. So that's why this trade scenario with Juan Soto seems basically impossible. Also, it's another situation. If the Dodgers want to get Juan Soto bad enough, they can outbid the Mets. Even without this. So the Dodgers just have more young talent. You've got Will Smith. You've got Gavin Lux. You've got 7 top 100 prospects. The Cardinals have 2 really good outfielders who are already in the MLB. Very young, very controllable. They also have the number 1 third base prospect in all of baseball. They've also got a top starting pitching prospect in all of baseball. And then there's also a few other teams like the Mariners maybe get involved, things like that. There are other teams that can offer better packages for Alvarez. So who might Alvarez end up getting traded for if this rumor that he's getting traded is correct before the deadline? I would look at a guy possibly like Shohei Ohtani. And we talked about, should the Angels trade Ohtani? It's really confusing. From just a baseball perspective, it would behoove the Angels to look around and see what they can get for Ohtani. You've already got Rendon on that horrible contract. You've got Trout on a massive contract. You're either going to have to trade or pay Ohtani. You don't want to let him walk in free agency. So it would at least... You got to do your due diligence here, see what a team is willing to offer. Of course, this goes farther than just the baseball field with Ohtani. The amount of money he brings the Angels, the overall eyeballs they get when Ohtani is pitching and batting first in the same game. That's why the trading Ohtani becomes so tough, and it almost seems like another one of those situations where if the Angels really did want to trade Ohtani, it would come next year at the trade deadline, which is something I'm sure a lot of Angels fans don't want to hear, because that's the dreaded last year of his contract, meaning if you're trading Ohtani at the deadline next year, you're not getting much back because Ohtani would be a free agent the year after that. You're basically only, if the team that's trading for Ohtani is only trading for 2 months and a playoff run with Ohtani. So this does make, sense. I think I don't think this trade would happen. I think this is another scenario where you would have to wow the Angels because Ohtani is worth what he's going to be worth, but he's even worth more than that current value they have on him, 107.6. He's worth more because he brings them more money. He brings them more eyeballs. So he might be worth 140 in trade value. And you can see that's with Alvarez, that's with many of the top prospects. And they're also shedding James McCann. So this would be an amazing trade for the Mets, in my opinion. You're trading for Ohtani, you're shedding McCann's bad contract, and you would be able to obviously re-sign Ohtani. But although, guys, I'll be honest, Shohei Ohtani, amazing player. I would be really concerned about giving him like a 7 or 8 year contract. There's a lot that can go wrong. I guess theoretically, I wonder if he gets injured with his arm, could he still hit? Like, could he still DH? I don't know. I would be scared to death to give Ohtani a massive contract. Not saying he doesn't deserve it, but that would be a player I would rather do like a 3-year deal, and I'll give you $200 million, like the Max Scherzer thing. You know, like I'll give you literally $60 million per year. I just don't want to be locked in 7 or 8 years because what if you get injured? And you got all these, you're a hitter and a pitcher. A lot of mechanisms can go wrong there. That's just my opinion about that. But this is a situation with the Mets that we're going to have to monitor. You know, Francisco Alvarez, I'm not sure how real this report is. This dude has about 30,000 followers on Twitter, so it's not like he's some made-up account. And the buzz around MLB, this was last night after the All-Star game. Francisco Alvarez all but a lock to get traded. This was another trade that I mocked just to see. I'm sure Mets fans would be very upset about this. I will say, fan bases tend to overvalue their own prospects, so you're going to have Mets fans being very delusional about what Francisco Alvarez is worth. Yes, he's a very good prospect, but at the end of the day, he has not had a single at-bat in the MLB. We have to take that into account. So this is for Luis Castillo, and I'm sure Mets fans would be very underwhelmed. Obviously, if the Mets traded Alvarez for Castillo, you know, you would throw in McCann, you would get rid of his contract, and then you would use that money that you freed up to re-sign Castillo to a longer-term deal. The Mets have to be very mindful of their pitching depth. You have the situation with Jacob deGrom where he gets injured every year and he's going to want a massive contract. How do you navigate that? And then you've got Max Scherzer, who's an unbelievable pitcher, but he is towards the end of his career. So you've got those two guys kind of, you know, a weird scenario. You might want to get another ace, and it could be Castillo, and you could get rid of James. I'm not saying they do this for Alvarez. Maybe you can do it where you don't have to give up Alvarez. I mean, I was saying I think the Yankees should try and trade for Castillo without giving up Wells, Dominguez, and Volpe. But I don't know how possible that is. Maybe you can do this trade without Alvarez. I just wanted to see if it would work, and you get Drury, who's kind of a throw-in. He's having a really good season. He can play different positions along the infield, from the Reds, who are obviously selling. So we're going to, see what the Mets actually want. A trade for Juan Soto seems extremely unrealistic, not only because it's an in-division team, but there are other teams that have more overall assets to offer the Nationals in a potential trade for Juan Soto, specifically the Dodgers and the Cardinals being the two biggest. If the Dodgers want to get Juan Soto, they can probably get Juan Soto. I'm being honest, they just have crazy talent. When you combine Gavin Lux, Will Smith, maybe they say Will Smith is off limits. You've still got Gavin Lux and all of those prospects to offer in a potential trade in the Cardinals. You've got Jordan Walker and several other, pitching prospects, Mason Wynn, Matthew Liberatore, some guys there. So right now for the Mets, we'll see if a name, comes up, a huge name. Right now we know, Luis Castillo, Ohtani, it's going to be very, very unlikely. It's a similar situation with Juan Soto to where you would have to ridiculously overpay for Ohtani at this point. Unless the Angels said, screw it, we're actually going to rebuild, we're tired of it. Theoretically, Mike Trout does have a no-trade clause, but if you went up to Mike Trout and you say, listen, dude, you want to win, we know you want to win, we're going to trade you to a contender, I'm sure he would waive his no-trade clause. Mike Trout has not won a playoff game in his career. So if the Angels really wanted to go full rebuild, you would want to trade Ohtani right now, which I don't think they're going to do because it's bigger than baseball. It's going to kill your ticket sales, your revenue, your relevancy in the sport. But you would get massive prospects back, and then you trade Mike Trout in the offseason, and you've just completely rebuilt your farm system. And maybe you can even get out of some of that Anthony Rendon contract. You could get a bigger market team to at least eat half of Rendon's contract if you were to trade Ohtani. I don't think you could. No, you couldn't include Rendon's contract in a Trout trade because that's just too much money. I mean, Mike Trout's making $35 million per year or whatever it is. Mike Trout's contract is a little rough. I wonder if Mike Trout does come available this offseason, would the Yankees look to pivot because they're looking for any reason not to pay Aaron Judge? But it's kind of a similar situation with Aaron Judge and Trout. Obviously, Trout's a better player, but they both get injured and they're both going to be signed way late into their 30s. So that's an interesting situation to follow with Mike Trout if he ends up getting traded this offseason. Again, it's a situation with the Angels where I think what's going to happen, they're going to say, you know what, we're going to try it one more time with Trout and Ohtani. We're going to do our thing. We're going to try and get controllable pitching, get a veteran, kind of like they did this year with Noah Syndergaard, and then they're going to go for it again next year. And then if they're at the same point this time next year, I'm guessing they will trade Ohtani and then talk to Trout about potentially waiving his no-trade clause that he has, which I don't think that would be an issue. I mean, if you're looking to rebuild and you go to Mike Trout and you say, listen, man, you know, you haven't won a playoff game. Let's be real. We know you want to win, but we need to rebuild at this point. It's been great, but we have to get prospects. We have the Angels are in such a bad spot. They have a terrible farm system. But, guys, I just wanted to talk about this whole Mets thing with Francisco Alvarez. If a trade happens, I don't know who it's going to be for. I'm pretty much positive it's not going to be for Juan Soto. I'm pretty much positive it's not going to be for Shohei Ohtani, but I would say Ohtani would be slightly more the Luis Castillo situation. I'm sure Mets fans are not going to like that, but you understand why the Mets would be targeting Luis Castillo with the current. I mean, I'm not interested in paying DeGrom $35 million over the next 5 years. He gets injured every year. And the thing with Scherzer, he's only signed for 3 years. He's old. He's not going to pitch like this forever. So that's why you can understand why the Mets would target Luis Castillo and then look to lock him up long term, because their pitching rotation, there's a little bit of a unknowingness, at least at the top of it. But guys, I just wanted to discuss that. We're probably if Francisco Alvarez ends up getting traded, I pretty much guarantee he will be traded for somebody that I have not mentioned once in this video. It's going to be somebody I haven't mentioned because the things I'm talking about, they just simply don't make sense. I know a lot of Met fans are talking about Juan Soto if they do trade Alvarez. Again, unless you're giving basically your entire farm system up and eating like Strasburg's contract, they're just not going to want to trade with you in division, especially if the Dodgers want to play ball. They want to trade for him. If the other teams, a team like the Cardinals would want to trade for him, those are Also, I saw this trade. I figured I'd bring it up. It was pretty funny. There's no way the Nationals would do this, but it's a straight trade for Juan Soto for 4 players, and the values actually align because they're including Logan Webb, who I'm sure Giants fans wouldn't want to do, but it is funny how Logan Webb, he must have an unbelievable contract. I don't know how many years he has left, but must have like 3 years left on his contract to be worth that much. And then 2 of their top prospects, and then a lower tier prospect going to the Nationals for Juan Soto. There's no way the Nationals do that. They're going to need more. Like they wouldn't. I don't think they would want Webb either. Well, maybe they would, but it's not really. If I'm the Nationals, that is not the package I would be targeting. I would much rather have a package centered around young, controllable position players and then all the top prospects. But I just thought it was funny, and I would show you guys it. So 4-for-1 swap for Juan Soto if you include Logan Webb. I'm sure the Giants would do it. The Giants fans would be mad they're including Logan Webb, but if you re-sign Juan Soto, you're going to do it 100 times out of 100. But guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.